Next, we'll start putting this to use to make some actual shapes. Now, I think I've already shown you in the previous videos how to make the Delta logo, the Delta Airlines logo, because that's just nothing but corners, sharp corners. And I think we actually did do the Starfleet logo, so I'm not going to show you those. The Starfleet logo is a combination of sharp corners and a curve. Actually, three curves. Three curves, three sharp corners. If you're familiar with Star Trek, I'm a big nerd, so believe me, I am. And I think I did that. I think I showed you that before, so there's no point in going over either of those again. I am going to go ahead and get rid of our two shapes here. You should always create a new logo. It should, if you use the pen tool and you've got it set on shape instead of paths or pixels, it should automatically create a new layer for you. We'll check that out here as I start drawing something else. What else can we go over before we even start making a complex shape? Let's see here. Let's just talk a little bit more about editing the shape. So I'm going to actually make the Starfleet logo again. Sorry, it's 4 curves and 3 sharp corners. All right, so that's horrible. If you're familiar with Star Trek, that's a very, very horrible rendition of the Starfleet logo. So it's going to need some changes. So I'm going to go to my direct selection tool. And the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to click on the outline here. And it's being tricky, it's not being cooperative. I'm going to start moving some of the anchors. This is going to take a lot of work. Now, one thing that I want to point out is you'll notice how the anchors, the end of this handle is very close to the curve, but this one's further out. So that's why I'm getting this weird shape. As a general rule, not always, but as a general rule, for nice, smooth curves, you want the handles, the end of each handle, to be about as close as the other to the actual curve. So see how we got a little bit of distance there and a little bit less distance right here. I need to work on that. So what I want to do next is I'm going to go to my direct selection tool. I want to see if I can edit it by just moving the end point of one of the handles. And this requires very small, slow, gentle movements that you can only achieve through lots of practice, hours and hours of practice. So there we go. Now we've got a little bit of the same distance between the end of this handle and the edge of the curve. Probably just do that a little bit more. There we go. About the same distance now. So you'll notice that is a much gentler, better looking curve. Let's go back up to here. Click on the outline again. And that's about right. But this right here, this is a horrible curve that I need to work on. The anchor point itself is in the wrong place, and the handles are not properly aligned. They're not the same distance from the curve itself. And that's a little bit better. I think the problem really is that this anchor point right here is too far to the left. Both of these need to come out some. Okay, that looks much better. And now I'm going to even up this curve just a little bit. Now, one thing you can do to get gentler curves is drag the handles out so that they're longer. However, sometimes what you do to one handle will work on the other, but in this case it did not. So since I'm not satisfied with that, I'm just going to completely redo this entire curve by using the convert anchor point. I'm going to draw very long handles, make sure they're about the same distance. There we go. Okay, so if you watch Star Trek, like I do, probably way too much, that's what the Starfleet logo looks like. Bottom. Now I'm just being picky. This actually comes up a little bit more. So there you go. I can hold the shift key down to make sure that everything stays either horizontal or vertical. Yeah, that's much more the Starfleet logo. I can bring down a ruler here. Make sure that my points are lining up properly. Go to view, clear guides. And that's much, much better. So there you go. That is the basics of editing a more complicated shape.